Welcome to Feminized. It's time for a show that turns the spotlight on the powerful women shaping cannabis culture. The cannabis industry is on fire and women are sparking it up. If you like the show, please subscribe. You can also subscribe to the Feminized podcast with Liz Grow on YouTube and Instagram. The future is feminized.
Hey sis.
You're now listening to the Feminized podcast.
Nancy Whiteman, CEO and co-founder of Wana Brands. It's a leading cannabis edibles brand out of Colorado in over 3,000 dispensaries across the US and Canada. And in October, Nancy and her phenomenal team struck a deal with Canopy Growth for almost $300 million. And I quote, "This is the kind of deal I was looking for." Nancy. So I'm sorry, I worked on that intro and I had to do it. We can get back to the conversation now, but damn, sister, yes. I mean, you've just been the talk of the town since that announcement. I mean, you were kind of one that people talked about before then, but now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing your name all over the place. What does that feel like?
Oh, it feels awesome, and I'm honored and humbled by it. It's one of those things that as an entrepreneur you kind of always dream of, and you never really quite believe it's going to happen, and then when it does happen, it's just such a phenomenal thing.
Oh,
so yeah, it's been really wonderful.
That's fantastic. Well, I was at G4 this week in Las Vegas, or last week in Las Vegas, and I got to try some new products.
Did you try the Wana Quicks?
Yes, the Wana Quicks, the strawberry margarita.
Oh, I love that.
I love that they're cocktail themed.
Yes.
So talk to me. I mean, just in general, talk to me about what products are you excited about right now? I'm sure the Quicks are top of the list there, but yeah.
Well, we actually released the Quicks just over 2 years ago now in Colorado. And we've been in the process of bringing them to all of our new markets, but they are just, of course, this is like, asking me which is my favorite child, but, the Quicks are really just a fantastic product. We spent almost 2 years in product development for this product. We tried every quick onset technology that we could find in the marketplace, and we loved this one because first of all, it didn't ruin the taste of the product.
Yeah.
It was truly quick, not just quicker as some are. And it also gives a Delta 9 high because it bypasses metabolism in the liver. So that's kind of a cool thing too. So, we continue to be super excited about the Quick line. But then we have kind of a new product line that we just launched just over a month ago in Colorado. And that is our live rosin gummies, which are also using the Quick technology. So we have kind of the best of both, a very premium product.
Yes.
And that's actually been really fun, the way that we developed that product line, because we did it around pairing different flavors with different terpene profiles. So you can definitely, it's definitely a little bit more of a connoisseur product, I would say, because people have to have a little bit of tolerance for being able to taste the terpenes. But it's just a very wonderful, kind of more complex experience. Gummies made with distillate we do enhanced sours with terpenes, but it's a different experience than the full entourage effect of the live rosin extraction with all the cannabinoids, all the terpenes in it. It's just a different experience. And I happen to absolutely love it. And then, of course, it has the quick onset, which, most people around 15 minutes. It's also, the thing that's nice about the quick onset is it's also quick offset. So, you can go to a concert, you can enjoy it, drive home safely.
Oh, I love that. So what is the typical time of the high? Or average?
I would say on average for most people, I'm putting it in about 4-hour range.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Totally manageable.
So, because it's more like smoking, honestly. It's when you think about, a classic edible, that takes an hour or so to kick in, it's a little bit of a commitment, right?
Yes.
Because you're going to feel it for 6, 7, 8 hours, depending on how you metabolize it. So this, I love it for socializing. I love all the quick products for getting together with friends, having a super fun time, and then, being able to move on with your evening or the rest of your plans. So it's a great product.
I love that.
So that's one category. The other one that I'd really love to mention is our Optimals line. And our Optimals line, Wana Optimals, is our use case specific line. And those are highly formulated products. We're not just big believers in throwing in the cannabinoid du jour. When we come up with the product, we spend a lot of time doing the development on it. Our first two products are Wana Fit, which is a THCV product. And THCV is interesting because paradoxically, it actually, for many people, it actually suppresses appetite as opposed to giving you the munchies. And many people also find it is very nice for focus and energy. And then our second product, which is also a fast onset product, we call it Fast Asleep. And Fast Asleep is a product that helps you fall asleep fast. It has a small amount of THC. It has CBD, CBN, and CBG, and a little tiny scooch of melatonin, like 1 milligram. And and 1 milligram, by the way, is very much below the level that they say you shouldn't use on an ongoing basis. So it's a very, very low dosage. And this one, we call this one the scalpel, right? There's a lot of sleep products out there that just knock you out, right? Because they're very high THC or they're loading up on other products. This one is really formulated so that you have no grogginess when you wake up. And people are loving it. And we have in our pipeline several other Wana Optimals products, which are all use case specific products. So those are some of the things that I'm excited about.
That's just like, it's so exciting to hear that, because when we had the great fortune of visiting you in Boulder 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
It was
3 years ago. It was before COVID.
It was pre-COVID. Oh my gosh. And just seeing what you were able to accomplish, in that space, and tasting the gummies and talking to you and tasting the products and talking to you about that product development. And now flashing forward 3 years, you did it. You did it. Like all the things we talked about.
Yes.
You did. You were talking about use case specific. You were talking about quick onset. And, I was just taking it all in. And I think I might be a typical cannabis consumer who's a little afraid of gummies because of the, it takes a while for them to set in. And then you have the, as you metabolize them, it changes that THC, right? It's not Delta 9 THC any longer. It's
11-hydroxy.
Right. And so that kind of, 11-hydroxy kind of can make me a spaz. Or at least feel like a spaz inside of my head, even more so. But you were talking to me about it, like have hope. We're figuring it out.
Right. And we did. I think our quick onset gummy, so far as I know, is by far the leading quick onset gummy in the industry, because it's really a fantastic product.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. You feel it and I'm a smoker. I like to inhale my THC. And so again, it's not like either or, but you really have to choose your own adventure when you're deciding. But not with this. It fit right in.
Well, and we say about this product that it delivers a smoker's high. Mm-hmm. It's fast.
That's what got me.
It's Delta 9. It's a very different experience than a classic gummy.
Well, bravo. And the live rosin gummies, I want to give you props on those too. As somebody who considers themselves a connoisseur, I've tasted that live rosin flavor profile, and I love it. But I know it's not for everyone. So very bold move as the leader in the space as you are to bring that on. I've only seen it on craft.
Yeah. Well, let me just, if I can elaborate just a teeny bit more on it. The way we structured it is we paired particular flavors with terpene profiles that went really well with it. And so we structured the 4 flavors around 4 classic strain categories, I guess I would say, as opposed to individual strains. So we have one flavor that pairs with sort of the gassy diesel, some of the gassy diesel-y type strains. We have one that pairs with the floral strains. We have one that pairs with the citrus strains. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the last one. This is terrible. But anyway, the beauty of this is that what it does is it enables us to have a lot of different strains that support it. So it means that we can scale the product. We're not dependent on, we have to have this one strain, or we do lots and lots of little teeny drops of small amounts of strains, because it's very difficult to scale that. So anyway, we're very, very happy with how the launch has gone. It's doing really well. People really love it.
Awesome. And what's that product called again?
It's called Wana Spectrum.
Ooh, Wana
Spectrum Live Rosin Gummies. Quick onset. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's Wana Spectrum, and they are live rosin quick onset gummies.
It's what they are, and they're phenomenal. I can already taste them. I'm excited to come and.
Yeah, we have a watermelon slushy. We have a berry gelato. We've got a tropical smoothie. And that same one that I'm blanking on, I'm apologizing that I'm blanking on that one.
No, is it maybe like a Kush, maybe a?
There is a Kush strain in there. It's the flavor that I'm blanking on. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Have this.
Oh handy. Wow, Nancy, it's not like you don't have other things in your brain, like
it's
running
an
international, an international company. That makes people feel good. So, if you don't mind indulging me, and certainly the audience, could you just talk a little bit about how you got to where you are? I know it's a long, twisty, wonderful tale, and I want to hear as much as you want to tell, because a lot of people look to you as an inspiration and a role model, and I'm sure some of your stories, certainly as you're coming up and the struggles that you faced, would inspire a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of female entrepreneurs.
Well, I'm always happy to tell my story, but anybody who's heard me tell this before is going to hear sort of the same joke that I always make, which is I always say I need a better backstory, because so many people sort of got into the industry for really kind of noble reasons. They had a loved one who was helped by cannabis during a health crisis, or they got in for social justice reasons, or all kinds of good reasons. And I actually don't have any of that to talk about. Mine was a little bit more serendipitous, which is I actually had a neighbor, and his daughter was friends with my daughter, and he was over picking his daughter up from the house. And I just asked him what he had been up to, because he was a commercial real estate developer. And he said, I'm actually getting into another business. And he said, but you might not approve. And I said, oh, give me a little try here. And of course, he told me what it was. And long story short, we ended up building out a kitchen with him. And I thought it was a fantastic idea. But, I didn't actually know that much about the medical uses of cannabis. And of course, Colorado, where we're based, was only medical at that time. So I went on sort of a crash course to really learn about it. And then when we started to get feedback from our customers, our end users, about how much the product was helping them, I really started to understand in a new way the power of the plant. I had always been an enjoyer and consumer of it for recreational purposes, but now I really got 100% on board with this is probably one of the most incredible health and wellness options from nature that we have.
Yes.
And so that really fueled a lot of what has ended up happening with Wana, which is why we're so committed to sort of the product innovation and even the market expansion. I mean, I have a sense of mission about Wana, that I want to make our products available to people to enhance their lives, which is our tagline, of course, enhance your life.
I think this is.
But there were lots of bumps along the way, Liz, and there continue to be lots of bumps. So for anybody who's listening, hold on to your hats if you're going to get into this industry.
Right? Like, well, what would you tell them? Just give them some real talk.
Well, this summer is going to be our 12th anniversary, which I kind of can't believe.
Wow.
And the industry, as you know, has changed enormously in 12 years.
Yes.
So the challenges that I was facing 12 years ago are somewhat different than the challenges that somebody coming in new would have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And we were, in some ways, just incredibly lucky in terms of timing because there were no established brands, for starters. There was no particular trick in Colorado to getting on the shelves. You just kind of went into dispensaries and said, hey, you want to try this? And people would try it. And if they liked it, they would bring it on. And so because of all of that, we were able to truly bootstrap this company with an extremely small initial investment and able to grow organically from that. The truth is, I think it would be much, much harder to execute on that strategy today.
Mm-hmm.
It's lots more brands, much more competitive, much harder to get on the shelves. So what I would say to people is, if and I'm talking now from a brand perspective, not from a cultivation or retail, because those are not areas that I have any expertise in. But from a brand perspective, what I would say is really make sure that you're starting out with something that has some uniqueness,
Mm-hmm.
something that you can actually build a brand around. And that has become harder. All the obvious categories are pretty full. Certainly gummies, our category is beyond full. Really, I'm just going to say this to everybody. Don't go into the gummy business. But
You don't want to go into the gummy business if Nancy Whiteman is in the gummy business. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Nancy Whiteman and thousands of other brands.
Yes. Yes.
So, and it's interesting because if you look at some of the, headset data or BDSA data, you'd say, I'm going towards gummies because that's the majority of the market. But guess what? So did everybody else. So my advice would be to really try to find some area where you can excel, where you can have some kind of sustainable competitive advantage.
Yes.
I am a huge fan of a lot of the emerging technologies and innovations that are coming out that enable people to do different things with the product. So I think that would probably be my biggest advice to people is, don't worry about how gorgeous the package is and what your marketing looks like. You have to worry about that stuff. But that stuff won't carry the day if you don't have a good product that is well priced. So I guess that's probably the essence of my advice to budding cannabis. I guess that was a pun, wasn't it? Budding cannabis. Yeah.
I love it. We love our puns here on the Feminized podcast. I think that's great advice. And that is the truth of the matter. I think a lot of, just from what I see on the media side of things, getting to talk to brands, new brands, existing brands, all of the time and meet them, learn about their product and their mission is that, it's easy to fall in love with marketing and it's easy to fool ourselves into thinking our marketing can carry the product. Mm-hmm. That other people are going to fall in love with the marketing and our color and our font choice too.
Right.
Right? Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to walk in into the dispensary and you're just going to love it. Well, no, it is people remember the product and you may spend your money once on something cute, but you're not going to spend it twice.
At the end of the day, one of the things that I often comment on about edibles specifically is that it's a two-tiered experience, mm-hmm. right? The first part of the experience is, does it taste good? Yeah. And actually, if it tastes terrible, you're probably not going to buy it again. Mm-mm. It has to at least taste acceptable. But what really will keep people coming back is the experience. Did I have a good experience with this product?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're going to remember much more so than I had a celebrity attached to it or it had a really cool box or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, all of those things, I think now especially is such informed consumers as we are, those things seem gimmicky. Those things almost make me question what's inside the box, if the box or the marketing is just too heavy-handed. I think. And so it's crazy. I guess you have to think about all these things when you're bringing your brand to market, like consumer psychology. What are they going to think of me? But if it's not good and if it doesn't work, good luck to you.
Exactly.
So I have a question that I've been dying to ask you ever since I learned about this statistic going around, I'll say, on LinkedIn, but that the number of executives in the cannabis industry who are female is going down, that there are actually fewer female executives in the cannabis industry. I mean, have you heard that? Can you speak to that? And why do you think?
I have heard that. I don't know the exact numbers on it, to be honest with you, but I think I have heard that, and I have a theory
Please,
on why.
Talk to me.
And it's interesting because when I first got into the cannabis business 12 years ago in Colorado, there in fact were a lot of women business owners, and particularly in the brand space. I think, though, when you step back from that and you think about what was happening 12 years ago in Colorado, here's what it was. So, it was an unlimited license market. So the barriers to entry were low. It was easy to get a license. At the time, I didn't think it was easy because it was like an 80-page application. But when I see what other people have to do in other states, it was very easy. Financially, it was very easy. It was, I don't even remember, a couple $1,000s maybe to apply for the license. So really, almost anybody who could scrape together a little bit of money could enter. And then the other thing that I would say is that, it was kind of wide open. If you had an idea, you could kind of swing for the fences and kind of go for it. What ended up happening, I think, and this falls for me probably into that category of unintended consequences, when other states started to put together their cannabis programs, and initially we saw this heavily in the Midwest, and then even more extreme versions in the East, is we moved from sort of an unlimited license model to a more limited license model in the Midwest, where Colorado might have 600 or 700 dispensary licenses. In Illinois initially, maybe there was 30, right? And then you got to the East Coast where it was even more restrictive. And so what ends up happening when you have that situation is that the competition to get a license becomes very fierce, right? And it becomes very expensive. It's not uncommon for people to have to be able to show that they have $500,000 of assets in the bank. Sometimes there's, long periods of carrying costs before you're going to be able to actually execute on that license. So now all of a sudden we have a situation where it was kind of an even playing field for everybody, to a situation where it very much favors people who have access to capital, who historically has had access to capital in this country.
The men.
What's the answer?
The men.
Yes, it's not the women.
No,
right?
It's not the women. Not the women, the white men.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, exactly. Forget my last name, because it wasn't me. But,
that's why you're making the money. You're not, right? You're busy making the money, not borrowing it. But anyway, I digress. God, you're such a badass, Nancy.
But then, so you have that situation. And then on top of it, now you have increasingly constrained capital markets. I think everybody knows cannabis stocks, have been really getting pummeled this year for a whole variety of reasons, not the least of which is that we still haven't had any federal action on legalization. But there's other dynamics at play here too. So, you have, if you looked at the statistics about what percentage of investment and venture capital goes towards women-owned cannabis brands, it's even worse than whatever you have seen in terms of the statistics of the number of female entrepreneurs in cannabis. So I think it's a combination of that. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to women needing to play the access to capital game game differently. And I don't say that like, oh, that's all in their control. And if they were only smarter, they could figure it out.
Right.
I think there's some institutional long-term patterns in terms of how businesses get invested that are now playing themselves out in cannabis. And I will comment that it's not only women who are being impacted, but also social equity applicants, so same issues, lack of access to capital. And even if we can scrape up the capital to get the license, these are expensive businesses to stand up and get running. And so successful social equity programs really must do more than just make licenses available.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I heard a few really great panels this last weekend and at G4 about that. And that was the theme throughout, is it's not enough just to give the money. It's not enough just to give even a seat at the table. You know, there's a fair amount of education. There's a huge learning curve. And, it's sets everyone up for failure if that's not present. But, everybody's rushing to get in, rushing to get it stood up, rushing to make their million and sell and go live on an island somewhere. It's like you've been at this for 12 years. You are not some overnight sensation.
No.
But it's a sexy industry and a sexy space because of that, I think. So Nancy, before, I know you're a busy woman, you've got a lot of things to do, so I won't keep you too long, but I do ask my guests 3 questions, and I'm dying to know your answers to these
now
3
I'm
questions.
Nervous. Okay.
No need to be nervous. You're in a safe space. Nobody's watching. Just kidding. All of the cool kids are watching. So, first question. Who is in your dream smoke circle, dead or alive? 3 people.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm terrible at questions like this, honestly. I'm not quick on my feet at all.
It's great.
Probably, I'm gonna talk categorically rather than individuals. Anybody who can make me laugh hysterically is definitely invited into my smoke circle. Okay. So I'm probably going to gather up some of the best comedians that I can think of.
Yes.
I'm not looking for lofty conversation right now. I could just use a good laugh.
Absolutely. Oh, I hear that. Okay, so you've got 3 of the funniest people can come to your smoke circle. Good. I love that. Okay. Second question is, what other woman in the cannabis space is really inspiring you right now or impressing you?
There are so many of them, Liz, that I hesitate to ever call any one person out, because I really feel like I get inspiration and support from so many women in the industry and so many sectors in the industry. I mean, I think there's a lot of amazing women in the brand space. There's also women who have done extremely interesting things from a retail perspective, both here and in Canada. I know women who I tremendously respect in that space. And also, I would just point out that increasingly there's a lot of women in ancillary spaces. Market research, marketing technology, search firms. There really are a lot of incredibly wonderful, talented women in this industry, and I would be doing a disservice to call out just one, because there are so many.
Truly. So let me then ask a bonus question. What words of wisdom do you have for these women who are doing a great job in this industry and building this industry with ethics and passion and in all the right ways? What message do you have for them?
I think one of the things that I would say, because I'm involved in some of these groups myself, is resource yourself with people who will support you, because this can be a really challenging industry. I can't tell you the number of times I've talked to both men and women who've come from other industries, have had long, successful careers in other spaces, and they've said to me, this is the most difficult thing I've ever done. This industry is the hardest industry I've ever worked in. And I think there are some special challenges for women, as we were talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would say is that going this alone in any way is not a good idea. Hopefully we all have family and friends who we can turn to, but I think you need your family and friends in the industry, other women in the industry,
Yes.
who you can pick up the phone and call when you're having a bad day and say, I just need to vent. I cannot believe this thing that just happened. And to have them say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that's happening. I've had something similar happen. That's a level of support that no matter how loving your spouse is or your family is or your friends are, they can't do that for you. So that would be, for longevity, from my perspective, I think that's absolutely key.
Oh God, I love that. It feels so good to hear you say that, because I've been immersed, I think, in that world since, well, the beginning of the year, as we've been building this podcast. And it's not just a podcast. This is just a delivery vehicle of the message and of really connecting women who are so busy they don't have time to connect. I feel the conversations,
Exactly.
the conversation that we had today, I feel like it'll make people feel good, make women feel good who are working so hard and not feel so alone, that even if they don't find the time to reach out to anyone, they still feel like they have that support, and a sister.
Yes.
Yeah, sister doing the work as well, and I also, hope to facilitate that one day, just a space where all women can come together and give that support to each other.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. So, okay, last question.
Okay.
What advice do you have for 13-year-old Nancy?
Ooh, gosh. I was a particularly clueless 13-year-old, so I guess all 13-year-old girls probably fall into that category.
Definitely.
And I think this is true for 13-year-old Nancy, but I think it's true for women in general, is to think bigger and dream bigger and try bigger than your logical brain tells you to do. I think as women, we are often either explicitly or implicitly trained to think kind of small,
Mm-hmm.
To not take risks until we're completely nailed down with every single credential and every single life experience that you could possibly have. And the reality is that that's not really the way life works, right? You just have to put one foot forward. You've got to try something, see how it works out, make adjustments from there, and keep going. And I would say, if there's one thing for 13-year-old me, it's be a risk taker, and
Yes.
think big and be a risk taker.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Think big and be a risk taker. Imagine if you had have told her that, maybe it would have, been a $900 billion deal. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, because you shot for the moon, sister, and you got it, and you got there. And gosh, I just, it's a weird feeling to be proud of somebody who, you're not related to, and you have a hand in their success. But I do feel that about you, and I know so many other women in this industry feel that about you. They're like, no, we can do this. And we will.
It's funny, if I can just comment on that for a second. I used to sort of have a thing when people would ask me about what it was like to be a woman in the industry, and I'd be like, can't anybody just look at what I do as opposed to the fact that I'm a woman in the industry?
Right.
But my attitude about that has really, really changed, and it has to do with what you just said, which is, I think it's really important for any group to see somebody in their group succeed. I think that sends the message, honestly, she doesn't seem all that special. If she could do it, I could probably do it too. And I think that's really an important message for people. And so I'm really happy to play that role now.
Oh, well, fantastic. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're happy to play that role. That's tells me that you'll be doing more of that in the future. And we need you. We need you. The women of this industry absolutely need to hear more of you, Nancy, more from you. So where will you be? Will you be at any upcoming events for the remainder of the year? Where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm not at MJ Unpacked, so I'm still here in Colorado.
Okay.
So, but my team is there. I certainly will be. I'm actually speaking at Collision, which is a big tech conference in Toronto in June.
Cool.
So I'm very excited about that. I'm speaking. David Klein, who's the CEO of Canopy, and I are doing a joint presentation there. And then I'm also going to be, of course, at MJ Biz. Those are the two that I can tell you for sure I'm going to be at. And I'm sure other ones will also get in there. But those two I know for sure.
Perfect. Well, you heard it here first. If you want to meet Nancy Whiteman in person, you got to be at Collision or MJ Biz, or just get really lucky and bump into her at her favorite dispensary.
Or hang out in Boulder, Colorado. You'll probably make it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for all that you do, and just for being so cool too and so accessible.
Thanks, Liz. I appreciate it. Good luck with the podcast.
Thank you so much. If you'd like more, subscribe to the Feminized Podcast on YouTube. Follow at Feminized with Liz Grow on Instagram. Special thanks to our sponsors Moose Labs and Richard's Rainwater. The Feminized Podcast is a Grow House Media production, created by Liz Grow, produced by Patrick Pope and Tanis Ray, with original theme music and audio mixing by Q at Q to King Productions in New Braunfels, Texas.